Hello loves, here's your quick review of factors. Remember that factors are numbers that we're multiplying together to get a certain product. So in this example, we're asked to find all the factors of the number 42. That means we're looking for all of the numbers, all of the factors that are going to multiply together to get this number of 42. When we start factoring, there's an easy place for everyone to start. Every single number has a factor of 1 and that number itself. Because if I multiply 1 times 42, I'm going to get 42. So I'll start with my 1, and then I'll put my 42 down a little bit lower. 1 and 42 is my first pair. Since I've done 1, the next thing I want to try in order is 2. Because 42 is an even number, I know that 2 is going to be a factor of 42. Now, I happen to know that 2 times 21 is going to give me 42, but if you don't know that, there's a way to check, because you're always going to have to check for some factors. There are going to be some that you know, and there are going to be some that you don't know that well. What I can do to check to see that 2 is a factor of 42 is take the number 42 and divide it by 2. So I ask myself, how many times will 2 go into 4? It goes in twice. 2 times 2 then gives me 4, which I can subtract out. 4 minus 4, of course, is 0. I'm going to bring down my 2. Now I ask, how many times will 2 go into 2? It will go in 1 time. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract it out, and I'm at 0. My quotient there is 21. What that means is that if I multiply 2 by 21, I'm going to get 42. So there's another factor pair, 2 and 21. Next thing I want to try is 3. I have to check over here with division to see if 3 is divisible, because I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. I'm thinking it is, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm going to take 42 again, and I'm going to divide it by 3. Because you always want to be certain. You don't want to miss out on a factor pair. I'll ask myself, how many times 3 will go into 4? It will only go in once. 1 times 3 is 3. So I write my 3 and subtract it. That gives me 1, and I'll bring down my 2. How many times will 3 go into 12? It will go in 4 times. 3 times 4 gives me 12. I subtract, and I'm down to 0. So that gives me a quotient of 14. What that means is that if I multiply 3 by 14, I'm going to get 42. So they are also factors. I've done 1, 2, and 3. I want to check to see if 4 is a factor of 42. Now, I can check this with division, but I can also think logically. I know that 4 times 10 is going to give me 40, and the next one that I would do is 4 times 11, and that gives me 44. So that means that there's nothing that I can multiply 4 by to get 42. I can eliminate 4. I'm also going to check 5, but I know that anytime I multiply something by 5, the product has to end in 0 or 5, and this ends in a 2, so 5 is not going to be a factor. I do happen to know that 6 is a factor because 6 times 8, or rather 6 times 7, 6 times 7 is what's going to give me 42. And I haven't left myself quite enough space, so I'm going to do a little caret, and I'll put my 6 and then my 7. But I want to double check that using division just in case, because you heard me. I accidentally said 6 times 8 before I said 6 times 7. So we want to double check it. We have 42 divided by 6. Right? So I'm asking myself, how many times will 6 go into 4? It won't, so I'll put a 0. How many times will 6 go into 42? Ooh, I'm going to write my multiples down the side just to double check. So I have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. I've hit 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Double checked. All right? 6 times 7 will give me 42. I can subtract it out, and I'm down to 0. Because I've got next door neighbors here, 6 and 7, I know I'm totally done factoring. Another way that I can do it, if it's a little bit clearer to you, is write it horizontally. I'll do the same thing. I'm asking myself, what can I multiply to get 42? So I can do 1 times 42. That will always work for me, but I'm just writing it in a different way. I've also already checked. I know that I can do 2 times 21. I know that I can do 3 times 14. I know that I can do 6 times 7. I still have all my factors, they're just written in a different way. So it's up to you whether or not you want to write them horizontally or whether or not you want to write them vertically like this.